Joining us now for more is this evening's political panel here on Bloomberg TV and radio. Jim Kessler, Executive Vice President for Policy at Third Way and Democratic strategist, alongside Republican strategist Lonnie Chen, fellow in American Public Policy Studies at the Hoover Institution. Great to have you both. Lonnie, when you look at how the markets reacted today, keeping in mind that President Trump announced this pause after earlier suggesting it's, quote, a good time to buy, how much did markets and potential manipulation have to do with it?
Well, this would be something ordinarily we would expect Congress to explore, these kinds of questions. Obviously, Congress has been more muted, let's say, in its reaction to a lot of things we've seen from the administration. I do think that the feedback mechanism from Congress is still there. I do think to some extent the administration and the president's actions with respect to tariffs were responsive to what he was hearing from Republican members of Congress, not just on the economic feedback, but the political feedback as well. And so we'll see going forward if Congress decides to assume a more assertive role when it comes to whether it's investigations into the issues you note or tariff and trade policy going forward.
This is a bipartisan issue on Capitol Hill, right? We've heard more about Nancy Pelosi's husband's trades than we have Donald Trump's recently. But Adam Schiff takes to Twitter. Who in the administration knew about Trump's latest tariff flip-flop ahead of time? Did anyone buy or sell stocks and profit at the public's expense? Is it possible for him to get an answer to those questions?
Probably not. We know the USTR didn't know that at the hearing. Look, I think there's something bigger than possible scandal. I mean, we just watched the President of the United States wave the white flag. Like, he just surrendered. I feel we witnessed a Jimmy Carter moment where the presidency has diminished before our very eyes, and the entire world, minus China, but the entire world stood up to him, and he backed down. And this is a bad moment for President Trump and for Republicans. It is a bad moment for them.
Well, and when we consider the others in the administration, I note Elon Musk, while not formally in the administration, an advisor to the president, surely had a $36 billion increase in his net worth today with the rally that we saw in Tesla in tandem with everyone else. And we know, Lonnie, that he was on a different side of this tariff story than others like Peter Navarro, who he just yesterday called a moron. Is this win for Elon Musk and maybe Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, and a loss for Navarro and others who are firmly on the side of these policies?
Well, it does reflect something that I think has been talked about, which is that the president is getting advice from a variety of different sources, and people have very different points of view with respect to the efficacy of tariffs, the way that tariffs should be implemented, how targeted they ought to be versus broad-based. And there are, I think, legitimate debates and disagreements within the administration over these questions. I do think today's pause or today's policy action reflects the reality of where markets have been, the feedback, again, he's getting from friendly members of Congress as well as from interlocutors around the world. So, look, I think that this is one of those things where every administration, to some degree, you get conflicting advice from advisors. But I think in this administration, the stakes and the discussions are so much greater around the issues that we're talking about because of the fundamental impact we see not just on the U.S. economy, but on economies around the world.
So you're on the same side as Elon Musk this time, Jim Kessler. I don't know how that feels for you, but what should be the future of this legislation? Take, for instance, the Cantwell-Grassley bill. We asked Todd Young about this earlier. He had 7 Republicans on that bill to reassert congressional authority over tariffs, even if they all go away right now. How important is that? Can it pass?
It's very important. I don't know if it can pass. There's a greater chance it can pass today than yesterday. That is for sure. I mean, it's what I said before. You are watching the presidency, Donald Trump's presidency, diminish before your very eyes, both abroad and at home. He capitulated because of pressure from the bond markets, yes, pressure from Republican legislators, pressure from local business and foreign leaders. Like, this is a defeat.
Well, the White House says the media is misunderstanding this, and they always misunderstood that this was all just the art of the deal, suggesting today that this was the strategy from the get-go. You don't buy it, Jim.
Well, you got to say something, right? I mean, you've got to say something to clean up the mess. And I've been in situations myself where you've got to make up something quick, okay? But to quote the band Heart, they're going to burn to the wick on this one, okay? Because they blew it.
Wow.
Lonnie, what's your take on that? And if what Jim is saying is correct, is there a boy who cried wolf aspect to this where the markets might not react next time Donald Trump threatens a new tariff?
Well, I mean, one would hope that at some level the reaction would be more muted. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into the market reaction. I guess I would say that one of the challenges for the administration from the outset here has been there have been a lot of different messages on tariffs, right? Some of this is about the policy shifts in reshoring, in trying to make supply chains more secure by shifting them away from China. I think the administration is still very much committed on that front. And then, of course, there was this line of rationale around negotiation. And I think if you talk to a lot of people around Washington and in policy circles, they actually argued that that was maybe the strongest one the administration had to go on. So I suppose if that was going to be the end game, providing a little bit more of that signaling earlier might have avoided some of the arguments we're hearing from the president's detractors today. But to call it a defeat for the president and the defeat for the United States, I think is a little bit premature. Let's see how some of these situations negotiate out. But fundamentally, the idea that tariffs can have multiple uses and multiple applications, when you're talking about it in the political context, I think it's really important to have a pat argument and to stick with it. And I don't know that we saw that in this situation.
Well, in the political context, I'm sure there's plenty of Republicans on Capitol Hill who are breathing a massive sigh of relief today, as we heard even the likes of Senator Ted Cruz warning about the potential implications for the 2026 midterms if these policies stick and cause a recession. Is today, while it might be good news for people who are long the equity market, actually kind of a bad day for Democrats in that very same vein?
I don't think it's a bad day for Democrats. I do think there are some Republicans, like Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who is he's vulnerable.
Ready to choke people yesterday.
Right, he was willing to choke people. Now he doesn't have anybody to choke. But there is a price for surrender, okay? And Donald Trump is going to pay that price. And he is weaker now in Congress and in Washington. He wins because he's a bully. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Sometimes being a bully is effective. He just got bullied and lost. That's what we just saw.
Well, as Lonnie suggests, though, what happens if he turns up with 5 or 6 trade deals the next couple of weeks? Some low-hanging fruit here. He's talking to Japan and the UK first. Would that not change the perception you're describing here?
I expect he is going to get some trade deals. There is some low-hanging fruit out there.
Yeah.
And, that might ease the sting a little bit here. But he's not going to get major trade deals that are going to change the trade balance that we have right now. No way.
And Lonnie, just quickly, we are expecting, or at least we think within the next, say, hour and a half, there could be a vote on the House floor for the budget blueprint that would advance Trump's legislative agenda, really get the ball rolling on the debate around tax cuts. Does that vote get easier now that the president has made this move on providing some tariff relief?
Yeah, I think so, because it does then turn the focus to other dynamics that will impact the economy going forward, whether, for example, questions around raising the debt ceiling, or, as you know, the really important and larger debate around extension of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So I do think it's going to get easier. And I do think that as we move forward, this is going to be the debate to watch, the debate over tax policy and how the administration and Republicans in Congress handle what will be a very consequential piece of legislation for tens of millions of Americans.
Guess we'll have to wait to see if there's any revenue from tariffs to help pay for those tax cuts. Lonnie Chen, Jim Kessler, great conversation. Many thanks to our panel this evening on Balance of Power.